Hello friends, thank you so much for stopping by my YouTube channel to check out this, the latest video from Macdonald, the CalumAM Podcast. Thank you for your interest in this brilliant guest, who I'm sure you're going to love listening to and watching over the next little while. One thing I will just mention, this video is just my chat with our brilliant guest this week, which might be enough for you, but if you want the full podcast episode, then click the link in the description box down below underneath this video, because actually, as well as this fantastic guest who you love and I love equally, there's a lot more besides on the podcast episode. You can search for Macdonald wherever you usually get your podcasts, or click the link down below. Come on over and join the fun. Please, please, please make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel as well, because there's lots more fun to be had in the coming weeks and months. But hey, I'm going to leave you to it and get out of the way. Enjoy. I just about passed out then.
Calum_AM.
No, it's not. There's no underscore.
Oh, I'm following the wrong one then, that's why.
Shut up.
I'm following Calum_AM.
As if. This is because you got rid of your personal one and just do the official one.
Yeah, that's right.
You're on my close friends list.
What even is that?
It's so I can share things about where I live without sharing it with people that I don't want to know where I live.
See, I've never
for
even set
example.
that up. There is actually a
Because you have no close
Calum_AM.
friends.
Oh, that got personal real
Sorry,
fast.
yeah. Stop it.
Okay.
Right, should we do this then?
I guess so, yeah.
By
yeah.
the way, you know I'm taking it seriously because I've got a new notebook for it.
Oh, okay.
And I'm using my fancy pen. I've got my mate Chris with me for moral support. Arguably best friend. Let's watch his reaction. That's fine. Occasional occasional personal trainer to me.
That is true. That is true.
And flatmate of 2 whole years a few years ago, in the days we call the glory days.
2 long years.
They were not long, shut up. Those were good. Anyway, hi Chris, thanks for being here.
Hi Calum, thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Do you remember the first day that we met?
I do, yeah.
Would you say it was love at first sight?
We did get on very well, very quickly. And the most frustrating thing I remember about that was I had been offered to share a flat with this guy, Calum, but I didn't want to move down and move in with some random guy who's probably some weirdo. So I said no, and I went to the halls instead. And then it turned out that this Calum guy was actually okay, I guess. So, yeah.
That is a good story. So, because I was in Edinburgh, so despite the fact that we're the same age, I was in Edinburgh at uni a year before you. You had a year out. And funnily enough, we had mutual friends of ours trying to sort of match us up to share a flat, because I was leaving halls and needed a flat, and you weren't sure if you wanted to go into halls or go into a flat. And we both said no on the exact same grounds. It was like, what? We don't want to live with a random person.
So true. But then, I mean, just the way it turned out, we eventually did get that flat. Like I say, 2 long years that I will never get back. But yeah, it was an experience.
I appreciate it, so thank you. I was going to ask as well. So I've rather self-indulgently called this podcast Macdonald. So that's what I've gone for, and I don't know how you feel about that. Is that okay with you?
That is okay with me, because firstly, I am actually half Macdonald, the same spelling of Macdonald as well. You know, my mum's maiden name is Macdonald, and actually from the better part of the Isle of Lewis, also known as Back. So. Yeah.
So it's good that you've started this fight early. So yeah, so our parents my dad and your mum are from the same island, but from different parts of the island that are across a bay from each other, and have quite a special rivalry actually between the two areas as well.
It is. It's actually quite an intense rivalry, more than you would realise or think.
Yeah, it throws me sometimes. Just how terrible your area is. Also, I felt like I should mention that you, Chris Stone, are the Wellbeing PT. That's your thing.
True.
So we need to find out about that as well. What's that all about?
So I have been a personal trainer. I'm trying to actually, although it's in the name, I'm trying to move away from personal trainer, I'm more coach now, because I feel like personal trainer gives off certain vibes, stereotypes of, shouting and stuff,
Can I just say,
that quite
yes, it
intense.
does. Shouting
Mm.
and abs and like an obsession with being ripped and
Mm.
flexing on Instagram and TikTok.
This is exactly it. And I also feel like as a coach, I do a lot more than just train people.
Mm.
I'm giving different advice in terms of not just exercise, but nutrition and habits. And there's a whole range of things that go into what I do. But the reason I am the Wellbeing PT is because I've tailored my services really for those who are looking to improve their mental health as well as their physical health.
And I think that's super important because, well, the two are really linked, aren't they? Basically.
Yeah, they definitely are. But unfortunately, in the fitness industry generally, it does tend to be all about what we would call aesthetics. So you go to the gym so that you can look good. But really, that the motivation to even go to the gym and improve yourself, that is all an internal thing. It's not, you might see someone and be motivated by them, but ultimately it's you. It's it has to come from within to be like, right, I need to make these changes for myself. So it's really a mental decision, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I
Yeah.
think like even so I mostly for comedy effect, but also with a serious point, often describe myself as being a recovering fat person. And I
Mm.
mean, that is probably not that helpful language actually in and of itself, but it is mostly to make people laugh and it generally does work. So you're welcome to that. But I think that you're right. Like for me, I go through phases of being like super motivated, super eager, and then through spells of kind of not really caring. And I think that's my biggest issue is that it's not even that I hate it. I don't hate it. I quite enjoy it.
Hmm.
But it's that I'm not really all that bothered for those few months or whatever.
Motivation is will only get you so far because, like we say, it does tend to come and go quite a lot. Um, but just having sort of establishing habits and routines and kind of building on that is definitely the more sustainable way of making change long term. But so
Mm.
that's why I often try and refer to myself more as a coach rather than a personal trainer, because it is more about, or it's not more about, it's kind of an equal quantities, but there is more of a focus on establishing new habits, maybe working on mindset a little bit when it comes to how you treat exercise, nutrition, your own mental health, or your health generally speaking.
Well, that's good. I think it's interesting because obviously like the last year has been so weird for everyone for so many different reasons and particularly for like health and fitness reasons. And I think like just building into that what you were saying, particularly like mentally as well. So I think everyone at some point in the last year will have experienced maybe for the first time what it means to kind of struggle with their mental health in some regard,
Hmm.
whether that's like over the pandemic, whether it's been like a stress thing or like an anxiety thing, or whatever. I mean, any number of things that could have cropped up over the last year. And I think what I've said this to you before, I think, but like this year, I would always consider myself with my mental health to be relatively well off. I suppose like I'm pretty level. I never sort of have big dips or big highs. I can kind of keep myself going. I'm quite a cheery person, quite an optimistic person, and I think that kind of carries me through most things. But then suddenly in like the last year, my like my I've just like peaked and troughed far more than I've ever
Hmm.
experienced before, and it's been the weirdest thing because you then suddenly get like caught up in your own brain a bit, and you're trying to understand. Well, hang on. I never normally feel like this. Why do I feel like this right now? What should I do to not feel
Hmm.
like this? And then you get stressed about trying to not feel like that, and it just becomes a big gloopy mess, basically.
Yeah, it's a never-ending cycle almost. You kind of get trapped in, and particularly with the lockdown, where, like you say, people have probably so well, not everyone, but some people have certainly experienced what it's like to have difficulties with their mental health for the first time. And in a way, it it's it seems maybe wrong to put a positive spin on it, but in a way, it's potentially opened the eyes of a lot of people that actually, in terms of mental health awareness, okay, mental health is real. Like we all have mental health, and perhaps even further than that, taking a step further than that, they've maybe experienced problems with their mental health and now recognize that things like depression and anxiety are real. Because I was certainly, when I was younger, I was I had the idea that mental health was firstly not a thing, and also things like depression and anxiety were just excuses for people who worried a lot and sad people. But when you've actually experienced it yourself, you kind of realize, it's nothing like that. This is an actual illness that you have to get help for, and it's eye-opening. So in some weird way, it may actually be a good thing for some people, because they can actually now recognize I have mental health and I need to prioritize it.
I think what's cool about doing this podcast with you and having regular catch-ups with Chris and just sort of this, just having chats, is that over the course of the weeks that we do this, we can explore more around that, because I think that is like an ever-changing situation as well, and we can learn more from you about all of that and what you do. Like, this is actually your job, so like what you actually do, and your experiences and stuff as well. So I think we'll get into that over the podcast, if that's all right with you.
Right, absolutely fine.
Great, good. Do you know, one of the actual other things about this podcast that I'm quite keen for is that, in honesty, I feel like I've not kept in touch with you as well as I would like. So, like, we message most days, either in a group chat or privately or whatever. And so we're pretty in touch. But actually, I just feel like this could be like a very sly way of keeping in touch and having a bit of a laugh as we go about it as well, which I think is quite fun.
I would agree. I would say, I think, as you were kind of reflecting on it a little bit with your mental health and perhaps experienced more peaks and troughs. Like, I feel like you're quite an outgoing guy. You enjoy social interactions. I see you're smiling there, which is indicative of that statement. But yeah, I feel like with perhaps one of the reasons you've experienced peaks and troughs is because you've not been able to interact with people so much. Like, we've been able to message and things like that, but it's not the same as actually spending time with somebody. So no, absolutely, it'll be a good opportunity to get the crack.
That's a really good point. I've never thought of it like that. That is a really, really good point. I do love, like, being, like, having my own space, doing my own thing. I'm quite an independent person at times, but actually I do absolutely buzz from other people. Other people are absolutely my thing. That's a good point. This is why Chris is good at this. Thank you, Chris.
You're more than welcome.
Right, okay, shall we find out a little bit more about the podcast as well? And in fact, at this point, so there's a chance that you're listening to this, and if you are, thank you very much. I hope we sound good. I hope we're nice company for you. I hope you're smiling as you listen to this, and maybe there are people around you going, why on earth is that absolute weirdo smiling like a freak right now? I hope that's happening. But also, because it's 2021, you can actually watch this podcast as well. So, hello if you're watching. And if you'd like to watch, then you need to go to, hilariously, my YouTube channel. But Chris's YouTube channel will be linked in the description below. So click there to go through, and he's got loads of great vids on looking after yourself and doing amazing things. So that's good. So we will link up like that. So hi, viewers. How are you? Can I just say, I've taken about, and listeners. Hi, listeners. How are you? Hello, you. In other showbiz anecdotes this week, I've just done a load of washing, and I can confirm it was a tissue wash, i.e. there are now loads of bits of tissue all over everything, so that's remarkably annoying. What other showbiz news have I got for you from the world of showbiz? Well, I've just moved into a new flat, so that's fun. I could give you a tour. Do you want me to give you a tour of the flat?
Let's do it.
Great. Well, so the problem here is that my microphone is plugged in. I have to take my headphones off, and the camera won't move from there. So what I'll do is I'll shout the tour. Okay?
Okay.
So I might just need to boost this a little bit. So you can, okay. So over here is the rest of the living room.
Wait, I can't hear you. Speak up.
What?
Speak up.
Okay, this is the rest of the living room. Now I'm in the hall. I'm in the hall.
Shut the door.
Can you still hear me?
So welcome to the real podcast.
You won't be able to hear me. Anyway, I'll continue the tour now. Hang on. I'm going to the bedroom. I'm in the bedroom. How?
I mean, yeah.
I'm not sure it's working. Is it working as a content idea?
The audio's great. It's really good, but the problem is visually. We've got a few problems.
Not that satisfying. Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, that's just the audio-visual balancing thing coming into this again. Okay. Well, maybe we'll just part. Hang on. I'll scribble that out. Okay. We're not doing that idea. Right, let me tell you about the podcast. Later in the series, we're going to hear from loads of cool guests to find out more about them, what they're up to, and the kind of idea is that they're all going to be around our age. So I'm 27, you're 27, I'm nearly 28, you're not quite as nearly 28. And so the people we speak to are going to be roughly around our age. We're going to find out all about them. And also, we're going to ask each guest, as part of our conversation with them, we're going to ask them the same 3 questions. Okay, so we get some like running themes throughout our series. Do you want to hear the 3 questions? Yes, you do. Good. Number 1, what is the one moment or event or experience that changed your life? Number 2, what excites you most when you think about your future? And number 3, what needs to change to make the world a better place?
Oh, that's deep, man.
Thank you. Yes, I know.
Mm.
And actually, I think that that we might answer those questions, but that'll be in a special episode to keep you all listening later in the series. So that's the plan there. Plus, this is going to be potentially, don't know about this, can't really fact check it because I can't listen to them all, but this is potentially going to be the only podcast in the world that gives something back to you. Okay? Not just a listening experience, but actual rewards.
What are you talking about, Calum?
Well, thank you, Chris, for asking. I want to start a rewards scheme, okay?
How is that reward scheme going to work, Calum?
Thank you. Basically, what I'm sure you're thinking is, this sounds familiar. This perhaps sounds like something you do on your morning programme on Times Radio, weekdays from 5 o'clock, Monday to Friday, from 5 o'clock, early breakfast on Times Radio, listen on the app, online or on digital radio. I'm sure that's what you're thinking. But basically, it's going to be slightly different. So it's to thank you for listening, or indeed watching, depending on your chosen platform. So because the podcast is called Macdonald, because we have that sort of Mac vibe going on, but because of the Golden Arches, we need to be careful about what we're doing. I'm thinking what we'll do is start the McMafia. Okay, so this is the listeners, the subscribers, the followers, the viewers to the podcast. You can join the McMafia. Everyone is welcome. No one will be left out, and you will get a role in the hierarchy. You will have an actual position. Everyone will get a position in the McMafia. Okay, that's my plan. What do you think?
Oh, I like it. I like it.
Okay.
So wait, does that mean we're like the big mob bosses?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. But I kind of want to. I realise I'm calling it a mafia. I want to slightly remove the violent connotations. So mob bosses, sure. Like, I could be head of stationery. Do you know what I mean?
That's a top position.
It's a big role. I'll write it down. Head of stationery. Gosh, this pen is delightful. Head of stationery. What would you like to be, Chris?
I feel like I might get a lot of backlash for pronouncing myself as the king of comedy or whatever.
Well, I mean, what you just have to live up to it. That's the thing. Maybe
it could be an ironic title.
Okay.
Well,
maybe our listeners can be the judge of that.
Okay.
Just how ironic Chris's new self-appointed title in the McMafia as director of comedy turns out to be.
But remember, we are the mob bosses. So,
yes, true.
Yeah.
So watch out. Is that what you're saying?
No, this is non-violent mob bosses. We've been over this.
Have you literally just issued a threat? Good. Right, good. That's our positions. So what to do to join the McMafia, to get involved, to get your... I was going to say to earn your role, but really all you have to do is get in touch. So email macdonald@calumam.com. Now, that is potentially a spelling nightmare for you. So it's MacDonald, MacDonald at CalumAM, that's CalumAM.com. Okay, MacDonald@CalumAM.com. Come and join the McMafia. And the first 10 people who join by emailing MacDonald@CalumAM.com will actually get a prize. Okay? Not going to tell you what the prize is, but there will be a prize, and it will be arranged with you. So you have to email. Email now. First 10 people. Good. So to give you an idea of who our sort of guests are going to be, one person we're going to speak to is Ahmed Baba. Now, he is a guy who is, I think, about 27 years old, in fact, and he has started a media company in the US. It's called Rant Media. And I've spoken to him a few times on my radio program, and he's just a really fascinating guy because he set this thing up during the Trump years, of course. Now he, and indeed the whole of the United States, is emerging out the other side of the Trump years. And so I think what's really interesting is how you then go back to covering a sort of, I guess what you could say is a more traditional president and presidency. So Trump was an absolute gift, there's no denying it, to the media, to the internet, to anyone who wanted to comment on anything, because he would always say something that was ridiculous or outrageous or that could be commented upon. So when things go back to, I guess, normal, in inverted commas, what do you then do with a brand new media company, and how do you continue to provoke that same interest in a president and an administration that is perhaps, and not necessarily in a bad way, but is just more boring by being more normal? So we're going to speak to him in the first episode of the Macdonald Podcast. We'll find out all about him, what he's up to, and I guess what the next few years look like for him and his company, as well as they cover Joe Biden. We'll have all sorts of other guests. I've got all sorts of cool people lined up, okay? I've got like streamers, like gaming streamers. I've got like influencer type people. I've got newsmakers, opinion farmers. They're fancy, yeah. How about that? And they're all going to come and chat on our little podcast, and we're going to find out about them. We're going to spend some time with them. And I think one thing about all of this, as well as our questions, like this whole thing is a bit of an escape. It's a bit of a like step back, bit of a chance to like catch our breath, for me to spend time with you, for you to spend time with us, for us to spend time with you, and for all of us to kind of just take a little while out of a day and just kind of catch our breath, relax, perhaps learn something, perhaps laugh about something, perhaps cry about something, if we're truly in touch with our feelings.
Well, get the tissues out as long as they're not in the washing machine again, eh, Calum?
Yeah, very good. Yeah, fair.
So Calum, you got a nice new pad in London.
Thanks. Yeah.
You must be doing all right. Yeah.
I mean, no, not really. Doing fine. I'm very grateful. I'm very fortunate.
Okay. And can you let the masses know about you? What is it you actually do?
I can, yeah. So I'm a presenter, a radio presenter, which is very fun and something I've wanted to do since I was about 11 years old. So every morning, every day, I get up at 3:10 and I go into work at Times Radio, which is the sister radio station of the Times newspaper. And I present early breakfast from 5 a.m. till 6 a.m. Monday to Friday, which is basically, it's like an hour, it's like a news briefing program for an hour every single morning, so that you can go into the rest of your day feeling informed about everything that's going on in the world.
No, that is cool. I got to say, like,
Thanks.
Having a dream from when you're 11 and actually fulfilling it. But what doesn't sound cool to me is getting up at 3 a.m. or 2 a.m. or whatever. How do you actually do that?
It's a good point. I think like there is no other job in the world that I would get up at 3 o'clock or 3:10 in the morning for. I would probably get up at that time to go on holiday if you've got one of those horrifically early flights and you have to be at the airport for like 5 a.m. or something. So you basically have to get up in the middle of the night. We had one of those once to Brussels, didn't we?
Yeah, the Brussels flight. That was good.
It was a really good trip.
That
was super
early.
The
flight was not great though.
Like, it is difficult. It's clearly early. I tend to go to bed about 10, 9:30 or 10 really now, because I've discovered that actually getting more sleep is quite helpful. And then I get up at 3, go in, do the program, and then I come home again. And I tend to be asleep again by like 7:30 or 8. And I kind of get another few hours sleep then and sort of restart the day at like 11 a.m. So it's like a bit of a weird schedule, but it works. Although right now, what time are we doing this? We're doing this at 3:40 on Tuesday afternoon, and I am feeling a little bit tired. Like if my eyes are kind of just a bit sleepy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I love it. I absolutely love it. There's no other job I would do it for.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. I I love my job, and similarly, I've wanted to since I was young work in sport or fitness or what have you. But it would have to be a, a job that I really loved if I
Yeah,
had to get up at that sort of time.
totally.
Um, would I get up for the job for this job at that kind of time? Probably, but it would take a lot of coffee. And where were you before the Times?
Before I was at Times Radio, I worked at the BBC. I was at Radio 5 Live and BBC Radio Scotland as well, where I presented a programme, and I was there for like 4.5 years, I think, or nearly 5
Sorry,
years.
can you repeat one of the
I knew you were
shows?
going
I
to do
didn't
this.
catch it
I
there.
knew
What was
you were
it?
going to do this.
What?
BBC Radio 5 Live.
Okay. Sorry, I just wasn't quite sure with the accent going on and all that. So yeah, I don't know if you can tell, but Callum's got quite a thick Invernessian accent, so from Inverness in
So
the
I'm from
Highlands.
Inverness.
And
don't
I've
think
always
it's.
poked fun at this.
I don't think it's as bad. That's not fair. I don't think it's as obvious as it used to be. It's definitely toned
Hmm.
down, I think. Not deliberately,
there
it
are
has to be said.
there are particular phrases that you say that as any decent friend would do. I just rip apart.
Yeah, but you're from Caithness and you say things like carrot instead of carrot, so,
No, it's
let's
fine,
not
but no
throw
one,
stones
if people
in
have
glass
heard of
houses.
Inverness, no one knows where Caithness is, so I can get away with it.
Okay, whatever. Right, nice one. Thanks, Chris. I think that's good, just welcome to the podcast, bit of an introduction. Hopefully you're getting the feel for what we're going to be up to. The next episode is coming right up, so make sure you stick around, subscribe, leave us a review, and get involved, and we'll catch you again soon.
See you soon.
Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed that video. Please subscribe. Please give us a little thumbs up. Leave your comments down below as well. Let me know what you thought of this interview. Maybe tag in a friend who might enjoy it as well. We would love it if you could do that. Please, please, please subscribe to this YouTube channel as well. And if you'd like to experience the podcast as a whole, the entire episode, then make sure you click the link down below and come over and join us for the podcast as well. Thanks for sticking around. I really appreciate it. Speak to you soon.